the both of you that watch my videos will know that I somewhat dislike the European Union. I obviously voted for Brexit and was amazed that enough people agreed with me to force Leave to win in the referendum over 2 years ago. Can you believe it's been over 2 years since that vote, when the establishment arrogantly thought they could just brush aside any opposition with what they knew were bullshit threats, excuses, and just walk away with the result? Well, as we know, since the morning it was revealed that Leave had actually won, the establishment have been trying to overturn the result every single day. I can't stand hearing from people like Tony Blair. Remember him? He lied us into a war that killed over 1 million people. And honestly, who wants to hear from John bloody Major nowadays? I didn't listen to him when he was Prime Minister. I sure as hell ain't gonna listen to him now. But my least favourite person to hear from about having another referendum, etc. is Alistair Campbell. Jeez, just saying his name gives me a shiver, and not a very nice shiver. Now this guy knowingly sexed up the dossier that Blair used to sell us into a war for Blair's paymasters, so Campbell, in my opinion, is more responsible than Blair for the deaths of over 1 million people. And Campbell knows it, and he shows no remorse. This man is complete scum. Oh, we all tell the odd porky pie here and there. You know the type, like telling your wife it's your mate's birthday so you can go on the lash, that sort of thing. But could you honestly imagine knowing you're lying and knowing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people will die as a result of your lies? So when I hear him spewing his nonsense about the fact that the public didn't know this or they didn't know that, when I hear him on television and him arrogantly shouting down his co-debater, I literally want to throw the television across the room. Hell isn't bad enough for people like Alistair Arrogant Campbell. Anyway, I thought I'd remind people about the EU and why the Leave campaign won in the first place. The basic idea of the EU was formed by none other than Adolf Hitler. You have to wonder with the EU if in fact Germany did lose the Second World War, don't you? Hitler drew the basic plans of the EU and Merkel is now carrying it out. I don't want to be ruled by Germany. Does anyone else? Any Remainers out there want to be ruled by Germany? Now the EU Commission is the powerhouse of the EU. It decides the laws that the member states have to adopt. Unless the member states adopt these laws, they receive massive fines for having the audacity to disobey the mighty EU Commission. Now the Commission is made up of 28 commissioners who wield this power and create the laws. Do any Remainers know that not one of these commissioners has been elected to this role? Commissioners aren't elected. Commissioners are selected. Selected dictators put in place by their friends to increase the power of the EU in the name of democracy. Any Remainers want to be ruled by unelected dictators? Look at this guy. Honestly, just have a look at this guy. This is Jean-Claude Juncker. He heads up the EU Commission. He's the Commission's president. He may have been elected by other Commission heads to head up the Commission, but he wasn't elected by the people of Europe to head up the Commission. But look at him. This is him at the recent NATO summit, where there's no question about it. He's pissed. He's pissed as a fart. They tried to put it down to sciatica. Nonsense. He's just drunk. It's an open secret. He's a complete pisshead. And they let him get away with it because he's doing the bidding of the elite who put him in there to do just that. Imagine your boss was pissed every day. Okay, if it's his own company, it's up to him, but it's not. Imagine the head of your local bank was drunk all the time. Do you think he would get away with it? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said he, should I? I should have said, do you think they, or Z, or Unicorn, or Purple Penguin? I should have said any of these rather than he in my last statement. I'd like to apologise for upsetting any Muppet fuckers out there. Anyway, Juncker, this idiot is supposed to be a responsible person overseeing the EU, when in fact the reality is that he is another scumbag taking a massive dump on the people of Europe. Any Remainers want to be ruled, ordered around and shat on by this drunk muppet? One of the arguments I hear from the Remainers is that it's better to change the EU from within. If you've studied the EU, then this is such a stupid statement. The whole point about the EU is that you can't influence anything because it's run by unelected commissioners. And these commissioners don't have to be held to account. It's so naive to think that we can change things from within. It's so fluffy and lovely, isn't it? But you can't. Not when it comes to the EU. It's like a roller coaster. Once the ride has started, you can't alter the course of the track. It's already been laid out by others. Any Remainers out there who think they can alter the course of the Nemesis Inferno while the ride is underway? The other argument the Remainers put up is that the EU is elected. We go to the polls every few years to make a difference. I pity these muppets, I honestly do. Now, let me explain how the EU Parliament works. Say the EU Commission create a new law stating that the firstborn in every family has to be murdered on the front lawn of their garden the first Sunday of every decade in homage to Lord Jean-Claude Juncker. And obviously to keep the population down. This law, once finalised, would pass from the EU Commission to the EU Parliament. Now, you'd like to think that 100% of the EU Parliament would vote this law down, but I doubt they would. Let's say 95% vote this down. In any case, it's a clear majority. This law then goes back to the EU Commission, who look at the result and they, the Commission, then decide if the vote stands or not. They can say, okay, no sacrifices to drunk deity Juncker, or they can say, to hell with the EU Parliament votes, we're going to introduce this anyway, and the member states then must introduce this new law regardless or face massive fines. Here's an example of the fines the EU levy. Britain was fined 150 million, that's 150 million pounds, for not flying a bloody EU flag. Imagine how high the fines would be for not sacrificing children to the drunk deity Juncker. He's an unelected twat having a laugh at our expense, drunk deity Juncker. Any Remainers want to sacrifice their firstborn to Juncker? Another Remainer special, of course, is that the EU has kept the world safe, and that there's been no wars since the EU was formed. I think you need to look a bit closer. It's NATO that has kept the peace, not the EU. But what about security? What about terrorism? Well, it seems that all the terrorists are known to the police already, every single time. So all they need to do is arrest them. Nothing to do with being in or out of the EU. What about trade? Well, let's make new agreements with other countries. The EU need us more than we need them. If you're a Remainer, you clearly do not understand how the EU works, and you clearly don't understand the plans it has for the future. Wasn't it Nick Clegg who said the idea of an EU army was a dangerous fantasy, and that it was simply not true? Clegg's an open goal for people like me. And he's a Remainer, of course. Surprise, surprise.
The problem... But this is a dangerous fantasy. The idea that there's going to be a European Air Force, a European army, it is simply not true. The problem with people like Nigel Farage is they swing at windmills. They see conspiracies everywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if Nigel Farage soon tells us that the moon landing was a fake, that Barack Obama isn't American, that Elvis isn't dead.
The EU is about creating a European superstate and getting rid of pesky little countries so that they can have a bloc similar to the USSR. Any Remainers want to live like the Russians did under Stalin? Thought not.